Okay, so we're now on to part 3 of our phonics meeting, and this is the famous Fred, and I'm sure all of you will be familiar with Fred. If you're not, your children certainly are. And Fred is somebody that we use in phonics on a daily basis, and Fred really helps us with our reading. So Fred is the kind of face of Read Write Inc. in terms of we use something called Fred Talk. I'm just going to move my face so you can see the text. So Fred Talk follows this process. So we say the words in the sounds as if we were Fred the Frog. So for cat, we would say k-at, cat. So k-at. And we would throw it over to the children. They would repeat that. And then they would say if they could jump in with the whole word. So we would say k-at. Then the children would say k-at, cat. So they have to say if they can blend those sounds together. And we would always start off with what we call a CVC word. So just 3 sounds together to make a word. Once they are able to say the whole word, we would then repeat it. K-at, cat, k-at, cat. So that's something that is part of our phonics lesson every day. And we often just Fred talk around the class at other times. And the children really love to Fred talk different words that they say. So we can use Fred talk games throughout the day. And we could say things like, shall we go and have some lunch? And see if the children know what that means. So some children will be looking at you and think, I'm not really sure. And you'd have to repeat that. And you might need to say, lunch, and really blend that together for them. You might say, what would you like to with? What would you like to And they need to try and blend that together. Let's put on our Let's put on our So that's just really breaking down those sounds. And if you did want to do it at home, I would say maybe try first with just 3 sounds. And when they're quite confident with blending the 3 sounds, then you could go to 4 or 5 sounds, as is shown on the screen. So we're just going to Fred talk, and this is something that your children will do with their first little reading book, which should be coming home sometime soon. So I'm going to Fred talk the word mat, and then I'm going to Fred in my head. So mat. So you have a look there. It's made up of the 3 sounds. At, mat. So that's Fred talk. When I am secure with Fred talk and I can blend really easily, I'm then going to Fred in my head. So your children might touch their head, they might hold their ears, they might really kind of focus in like this. That's their way of kind of drowning out any outside noise and really focusing on the words. So they would go like this. Mat. So they're saying the sound in their head. They might point. Mat. Okay, and when they're quite secure with Fred in their head, then that's when we would just say, read the word, and they should be able to speed read mat as soon as they say that word. Okay, we also use our Fred fingers to teach spelling and to help with their writing. And just to say that we do in early years look at writing phonetically plausible words, and that means that the sounds are represented in a plausible way, in a quite accurate way, but it might not be exactly right. For example, the word duck. So if they said duck and they didn't have a curly k and a kicking k, they just had one k sound, we would say, well, that's phonetically plausible. Similarly, if they were writing the word was, if they wrote z, that's phonetically plausible. So that's part of their development with their writing. So we would say at, cat. So they know there are 3 sounds that I need to think about, and there are going to be 3 graphemes that I need to put together in my writing, and then they could really focus at, cat. So these are our Fred fingers. So what can you do at home? You could do some Fred talk throughout the day. You could play some little games.